The war drama of Full Metal Jacket is such an incredible film to say the least. I highly do like this one. There are so many great things about it. And certainly, even more than 30 years later, this one still holds up pretty well, in my opinion. Yeah, this one is a classic, no doubt. And having seen this film twice now, I'm impressed by the acting, the story, and of course, the characters. So, taking place during the Vietnam War, a group of young men sign up to boot camp in order to fight in the conflict, but first they must endure the physical and mental training in order to become combat-ready soldiers. You know, I have to say, this movie is very intense, especially the first half when Sergeant Hartman is throwing all those insults. But he's doing it in order to mainly prepare them for the war. And it's actually realistic. I mean, have you ever seen a drill sergeant be nice to their recruits? If drill sergeants were friendly, then it defeats the purpose of boot camp in the first place. I definitely think this is one of the best movies of the late 1980s. And while this movie does have some shocking moments, I was completely invested with everything that was going on just because of how great this one really is. When it comes to the characters, one person that stood out above the rest was Sergeant Hartman. The late Lee Ermey actually did such an amazing job portraying this character, and the mere fact that he was an actual drill sergeant in real life is just perfect casting to me. You know, the ironic thing is that as harsh as Hartman is, he's fair. He even says it himself. So when he's throwing out all of these insults to the recruits, he's actually preparing them for war mentally. Being in a war is more than just being physical, it's about being mentally strong. And even though Hartman is not a character you probably want to have a conversation with just because of how strict he is, he actually do cares about these men. Which actually makes the character Leonard, I felt bad for him because he wasn't prepared to join this boot camp. In fact, it drove him crazy, as this is a spoiler warning, but him just losing in that scene, it's just really unfortunate because, the thing is, even if he had survived boot camp, he just would have been like a trained killer in the Vietnam War, and he would have lost who he was. And speaking of which, I think this film does a great job of portraying just how difficult boot camp is. They take in innocent people and pretty much making them into trained killers. Like, war is ugly. And when it does come to the actors, I did like Joker along with his mannerisms. Even though he had made all of these jokes, he actually gets real serious, particularly near the end of the film. And the thing is that some of these recruits, they actually become like maybe worse people because, they're in the war zone, they're doing all these bad things. But particularly this movie definitely still holds up. And certainly it's a film that I'll probably say is one of the better war movies out there that's came out within the last couple of decades. The cinematography is great, the music is wisely done. And what I mean by that, in the beginning of the film, the music does play, but then it doesn't play again until after the recruits leave boot camp. Because that would have broke the tension of the movie. Like, this is a good film, but I'll probably say the second half is better than the first half. And even though I'm not that familiar with the late Stanley Kubrick's work, I only seen 2001: Space Odyssey and The Shining, I did like how he directed this movie because it's serious and it's funny, yes. The colorful insults that the sergeant is throwing out in the first half of the film, I found them funny and well, only because of just how over the top it was. At the end of the day though, a movie that's just entertaining, it has some good character development, but more importantly, the story is well told and it actually makes you care about a lot of these characters as well. I'm giving this film an 8 out of 10. Now, despite how incredible the story is, along with how great the characters, I can't give it a higher ranking because it didn't make me cry. Still though, when it comes to the character Leonard, like I mentioned before, I feel bad for him. He should have never been in boot camp in the first place. It had mentally brought him down, not just the insults from the sergeant, but also the physical training as well. Still though, a movie I would highly recommend to check out because it tells a great story of these young men going from recruits until hardened military soldiers where they actually have to make some difficult decisions on the battlefield. And that's my review of Full Metal Jacket. Alright, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this movie. Okay, this is Slim Guy 172 saying peace out.